Hello and welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis, and today I'm very grateful and very humbled to be joined by the great man, Jason Christoff. Jason Christoff's a master self-sabotage coach. He's a truth teller. He lived a pretty interesting life before he became awake to the truth of things. He owns his own many businesses, from gyms to health clinics to heaps of stuff. And I was guided to his work a couple of years ago, and I'm very grateful that I was. And I completed his self-sabotage coaching program, so we'll talk a bit about that as well. And yeah, without any further ado, this is like really awesome for me to be able to do this. So Jason, welcome to my podcast, mate, and very grateful and very humble to have you here. So yeah, just take the floor, mate, and tell us what it is that you do. A few of my listeners won't know you. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one.
Well, I'm really proud of what you've been doing, Nathan. So thank you for, I knew when you came to my international self-sabotage coaching school that you were very special, very passionate, very focused. I knew you're going to be a success. And like all self-sabotage clients or students, it does, once you get this information, your life's never the same, right? And it takes a good year to get rid of the programming. And of course, that's what I focused on for a lot of my life. I mean, I was a health coach before, not just a regular health coach, but a Chek certified health coach. So that's the top. Paul Chek is the top guru in the world for, say, health and nutrition and many other things. And I had my own line of fitness clubs, and I was training people at one of these fitness clubs. And I was using these very expensive protocols that Paul Chek had taught me. And what I found is that the people were terrified to get in shape, and it wouldn't matter who it was. And it wouldn't matter what the goal was. If the person needed to lose 20 pounds, they became terrified when they lost around 10. 10 seemed to be where they would get terrified. So whether they wanted to lose 10 or 30 pounds, the people would get terrified when they would lose that 10 mark. And then they would crawl back to their old habits. So what I did is I phoned the Chek Institute and I said, look, your protocols are great. They're the top in the world, but these people, there's something else going on here. They're afraid to change. They're very scared of betterment. Can you give me any sort of hints? And I said, oh, no, they have programs. They have mind viruses that are put into them through like psychological manipulation and brainwashing and mind control. And I said, oh, sounds very interesting. Maybe that's why I told them I felt really guilty taking people's money and not getting them to their goals. That's morally and unethically. It's unethical for me to take people's money and not get them what they want. So the Chek Institute said, you're going to have to study in this area, and maybe you can psychologically manipulate them the same way they've been psychologically manipulated to hurt themselves. Maybe you can psychologically manipulate them to be better using the same psychological manipulation tools. And I said, well, you should have told me before, but it's great to know now. So I started to get really into the research and investigating of these modalities. And you would always go down these paths of research, like mind control had this sort of tinfoil hat connotation about it, and behavior modification, like places like the Tavistock Institute and different universities in the United States. And sure enough, what I found is, yeah, they were right. My clients were, like many other people, programmed to be more comfortable leading mediocre lives because of the programming. And then when they're faced with an opportunity to live a better life, they do what's called self-sabotage it. But it's just that fear of the unknown. So they would not have any comfort or script or knowing of a good day. And all they had was the script of their regular mundane day. And I guess in the nervous system, from what I found out, this part of the brain that controls our behavior, called the subconscious, it wants us to have predictability. So the same day is coveted a different day, even if it's better, isn't really welcomed by this part of the brain. So what I started to do is literally I started to ask my clients and gain the permission to try and brainwash them so that we could get toward their goals. And it was the only thing that ever worked. So I quit being this high-end exercise coach because it didn't matter anyway. I did include exercise in the programs that I was doing eventually, but it was at the back end now, where before it was at the front end. And the diets and stuff I'd put at the back end. The front end, I would go into basically brainwashing them and telling them about how their behavior works, telling them why they'd be afraid to accomplish their goals, and having various demonstrations and videos that would help me make my point. And my business just took off from there forward. And I used to do self-sabotage coaching just one-on-one, and then I opened the International Self-Sabotage Coaching School, where I found you came and applied and got into the school. And now I do the schooling as a full-time thing, and the coaches are going out to teach people my process, which is very simple. It's sort of like just an education and an analysis of their personal self-sabotage. So it's a very simple process. So just so your listeners know who I am. Yes, I'm the dean of the school.
Yeah. Yeah, you are. Yeah. You're the mastermind. Yeah.
Yes.
It was a very simple process. And when I came and found you, I'd already removed some of the stuff. So it was just, I think it was just when I found you, it was just realizing how powerful and how good I can be. And once I realized that, mate, I was straight off, you know? It was just so powerful.
Oh, I could tell right away. You were fire. I mean, I think the first time I was trying to give you the demonstration of the coaching process, you told me the 3 or 4 goals that were just massive. I'm writing this, I'm doing that, I did a website, I got this going, and you were the perfect, I mean, the perfection is in all people. And see, you didn't have to learn it. We just had to kind of rub the dust off a little bit and help you remember, because the old programming that you carried was job focused programming, and this is what your life is going to be. And it became so repetitively driven into your psyche that it took someone like me to kind of say, you know, this is probably not going to make you happy. Doing what the TV and the society and the schooling programmed you to do is probably not going to make you happy. And that's where I get most of my clients. They're doing what the structure or the system told them to do, but they're not happy. Yeah. So we tell them why, and we tell them how to change.
And it's just delving in, and it's just working out and remembering. Yeah, it's right. It's remembering why you're here and who you are, and yeah, it's one of the most powerful things I did, and I'm so grateful for you, and I'm grateful for the work. Just in terms of some other truths and stuff, what do you find is the most common, like? There's so many, but what's the most common form you find of self-sabotage out there? I've got the answer myself, but I was ask you what your thoughts are on that.
Well, the most common would have to be something that's it's held by the minority, because the way this subconscious mind works, the bigger the group, the more it has this magnetic affinity toward it. It's really attracted to bigger groups, because this part of the brain is about safety. And there's safety in the bigger herd. So when you're asking what's the most common form of self-sabotage, it would be moving into the smallest herd, and because there's a natural propensity to be afraid of small groups because it's not as safe as the bigger group. Smallest group on this planet is wealthy people.
Yes.
Successful, wealthy people. The second would be health. So like there's only 20% of the population that exercises on a regular basis. And this is why that's a minority group. So this is why not everybody has the sort of courage to reprogram and get into that group, because you have to have a little bit of, we call it the rite of passage from child to adult, where you're strong enough to stand in the smaller group and still sort of stand there knowing you're going to be attacked. And so that's just health. So that's why there's 20% healthy people, 80% people in a bigger herd that's not healthy, doesn't exercise, doesn't eat well. But the smallest herd is the wealthy herd. And when you get the smaller the herd, the more this invisible part of the brain called the subconscious, this invisible part of the nervous system, it's going to send signals through your nervous system that you're making a very dangerous move. And it's going to like trip you up on your way there. And there's many cases of financial self-sabotage. One of the most famous cases, sports stars are very very frequent in this area because they get these big paydays. And one of them was Michael Vick. And I know you're in Australia, but Michael Vick, he could have been the best athlete of all time in any sport. He was one of the most well-built humans I've ever seen. He was a quarterback in the NFL I think about 20 years ago, or maybe 18 years ago. He played for the Atlanta Falcons. And it's very rare, there's a 40-yard dash time that is measured by the NFL. It's called the NFL Combine. And it's usually a running back, of course, or a wide receiver, because they're coveted for their speed. Well, Michael Vick was such a good athlete. He set the 40-yard dash for the whole NFL draft team that year as a quarterback, not as a wide receiver, not as a running back. And his record for the 40-yard dash still stands today as the fastest 40-yard dash of a quarterback of all time. He had a massive payday when he first came into the league, probably netted himself $10 or $15 million in the first 3 years. And then they gave him it was big. It was like 120 or 150 million after that. And as soon as he signed that's a very small group. So he was used to being the underdog that felt comfortable for him. And where he grew up in a very poor neighborhood. It was either Cleveland or Baltimore. I'm sorry if I'm getting the town wrong in the United States, but he was from a poor area. And that was his normal. And this is what this part of the brain is about. This is what self-sabotage is about, is the things that's the most repetitive in your life gets set as the normal, and your body equates normal to safety. And it's always trying to scurry back there. So he's always used to being the underdog, the up and coming kid. But when he signed that contract, he got like a $20 million mansion. His dreams came true, and his subconscious felt separated from his normal. So he knew about being the underdog and being from the rough neighborhood and going back to visit, but he had no script for being the ultimate success. Being the best quarterback in the entire world means you're in a group of one. That's it. That's a very small group. And human nature is the smaller the group, the less safe you are. And as soon as he got the $20 million mansion, he phoned up his friends that were professional dog fighters. They were in a dog fighting ring. And within 2 years of his big payday, he was in jail for organizing a dog fighting ring up and down the East Coast of the United States.
Yeah.
So the subconscious actually manufactures all of that, because then it goes right back. He's in jail, and the subconscious says, there we go. Totally safe. Bigger group. That's my normal. That's my familiar. And a lot of people do this with good relationships. If they had bad relationships in their life, they do. If their parents were poor or struggling, they create poverty unconsciously. Like, this part of the brain that organizes all this it operates in the same way, say, your heartbeat or a female's menstrual cycle or a cut healing. There's no involvement on your part to your heart beating right now. And this part of the brain actually works in that category, outside your conscious awareness. And if you don't know this, if you don't know that the most repetitive content or messages or images from your childhood are going to invisibly play out in your adulthood, you're going to have a real hard time in life because you're going to think it's fate, but it's programming, and programming can be changed at any time. And if you know that, have the right tools, which you do, of course, if anybody wants to phone you and learn about these tools, but the people in charge of our society, I call them our social engineers or architects of doom, depending on what kind of mood I'm in.
Human farmers.
Human farmers. We live on a people farm.
Yeah.
If you don't know, and they know this part of the brain really well, they know how to program it, and they would rather have people that are struggling, because you can't rule or farm lions. You can only farm lambs. So this part of the brain is heavily accessed and programmed through radio, TV, and movies, and print media like newspapers and conventional magazines. And people don't know they're getting programmed, and that they're getting programmed for disaster, like Michael Vick. And it could be just inability to lose weight. It could be an inability to stay married or stay loyal or tell the truth. Or some people just procrastinate because their parents were procrastinators. Some people watch TV and rot their whole life on the couch because that's their normal. And basically, a lot of people involved with self-sabotage, I say there's one primary factor. If you want to know if you're self-sabotaging, you're working in contradiction to your genetic survival mechanism. You're doing things that end your life early, and you're thinking it's logical, when that's actually in contradiction to your base genetic programming of genetic, like life preservation.
Spot on.
Yes.
Couldn't have put that any better myself. It's interesting, isn't it? Because people know this stuff. They're like, oh, the alcohol. It's like, well, they know it's bad, but they keep doing it, and they're stuck in that cycle. And I find that it's just gaining that conscious awareness of why you're doing it. And then once you know why you're doing it, it's usually, as you say, it's a safety mechanism to fit in. And what I found through the stuff I've learned too, just through you and some books and stuff, it's like, if you're drinking, and you've said it too, it's like, well, did your parents drink? Yes. Did the friends of the friends drink? Yes. And then that's the tribe that you're subconsciously you feel more safe in, is that drinking tribe. But then that drinking tribe might take up drugs and other stuff too. It's gaining that conscious awareness, isn't it? That's probably the first step, I reckon. That's what I found.
You have to understand that the most repetitive content that enters your eyes, and just to let you know that, I mean, let me just talk about the human farmers for a second.
Yeah, we can go there. Yeah.
Know where this is coming. Okay.
Yep.
Is the internet okay? I got some kind of weird
I'm okay.
there, but
mine's
okay?
all right.
Okay.
Yeah, mine's all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what you see a lot of times when the human farmers are being signaled by people that even really don't know what this means. I'm so sure when I'll cut this out and say I'm talking about, this triangle, this famous triangle with the eye in it. This triangle with the eye in it is on the back of the $1 American US $1 bill. And what they're indicating, what that symbol means, and symbol isn't a word that actually means similar to the bull. That's what symbol means, similar to the bull. And because this cult or this group is very old, and it used to be known as the bull cult. And that's why this is where the phrase bullshit, or you're a bullshitter, because if you're from the bull cult, you're always bullshitting people and putting them sort of under mind control. But this pyramid with the eye, and if you look at the back of the American $1 bill, you'll see this triangle with the eye, and there's light coming out of it. Because the symbol indicates that, number one, the triangle is a three-sided object, right? And the third letter of the alphabet is the C. And they don't mean the C like this. They mean seeing through your eye. That's why the eye is there. And there's light coming out of it on the back of the American $1 bill, because they understand that the key to ruling you is what light goes inside your eye, because the subconscious mind records everything that comes through the eye and the auditory centers. And then it compiles everything it's ever seen, and then it sorts it like sifting for gold. the subconscious wants to find the most repetitive content. And the most repetitive content is sought by this part of the brain because it's supposed to reflect what the majority is doing, thinking, or saying. And if you mimic that, you're safer. And so in terms of alcohol, this is why there's alcohol everywhere in your film, everywhere in your movies, in your TV shows. It's in every bar, even when you go to the hotels owned by cult companies. It's full of liquor. Now, that's a rule of the group that rules us. They want massively repetitive content in regards to alcohol consumption, because alcohol actually causes a form of brain damage that makes someone more prone to follow the crowd. So it's not only that alcohol weakens people and lowers testosterone, and the reason people are drinking, like you said, people are saying they've been exposed to so much content, they can't even imagine a separate reality where they don't drink. And if you want to know, I already explained earlier in our talk that if you try to do what the minority is doing in the majority of a group, this part of the brain will give like fire lightning down your nervous system and try to warn you through feelings that you're exposed to danger. And if you want to know how this feels like, so you know, I want you to experience it yourself, go to a party, a Christmas party at the corporation or wherever you're going to go, while everybody's drinking, and tell them you're not drinking.
Done that.
and you'll feel the pressure. You'll feel what I'm trying to say is that your body is designed as a protection mechanism, and thank God it is. It loves you. That's why it's trying to protect you. And it sees inside the group or the conference room or the room, wherever you're having this party, that everybody's drinking, and its job is to fit you in. So this is where you get this massive lightning bolt of danger signals ripping through your neurology to say, hey, you know, Nathan, everybody seems to have a glass of alcohol in their hand and you don't. So the pressure is to put the glass in your hand. Now, the people who rule us know that most people don't know anything about this. They're sort of generally weak as well. But it's also being shown that if you're polluted in any way, or sort of physically weak or mentally weak or spiritually weak, you're more prone to put the glass in your hand. So they're always trying to weaken you so that you succumb to group pressure. And their propaganda that they put out in the media is designed to manufacture the group pressure as well, to go to an injection clinic and push a lie under your skin, or send your kids to university and think, you know, you're really good parents, when really you're just paying for them to be indoctrinated and brainwashed. And it's on your bill now, it's on your tab. And so they're trying to, whatever they want you to do, they know that this part of the brain is a repetition counter. So when kids are shown TV shows, there's a lot of TV shows about them going to school, a lot of them getting ready to go to university, a lot of them at university, a lot of them at college, a lot about applying to college and the stressful day of getting the letters. Oh, you're rejected, you're accepted. So wherever they want you to go, which serves only them, doesn't serve you at all, they'll manufacture this fake reality through their control of what goes in your eye, the C, right? The eye. And they will control your perception of the world. And the more repetitive the impacts on the subconscious mind, you will go out and do that because that's the way your neurology is designed, but you're going to think you're doing it under your own free will. When really you're not. You're getting controlled by this part of the brain. So that's why it's such a pillar of our human farmers, their control system, is that's what the symbol means. They're so proud of the symbol because it's like a foundational pillar of their control, is they have to control what you see in the light. because that means your subconscious will count the repetition that's getting jammed into your retinal nerve. And that's what the censorship is about. They want less repetitions on the truth, more repetitions on their lie, and then you robotically, move over toward their lies, thinking it's the truth. You're going to think cereal is good for breakfast. You're going to think Tylenol is what you do when you have a headache. You're going to think champagne is something to be consumed on New Year's Eve. These are all things that make you weak. And this is where most people have downloaded their ideas, is from their system of programming, from the schools, the movie, the TV shows. It doesn't matter if it's Time Magazine, National Geographic, Newsweek. It doesn't matter if it's the Washington Post or New York Times. These are all cabal controlled companies, and they're making sure to control your content to do what they want to do. And whatever that is, and there's many things they want you to do, it's all about making you weak. And it's all about you literally becoming a human battery, just like Morpheus explained to Neo in the Matrix. You become a battery for their dreams, their structures. It's like working down at the Death Star for Darth Vader. That's what they're programming you to do. And that's why they make you drink on a Friday night or a Saturday night, because they know, like, if they work you 7 days a week, like they used to 200 years ago, that you'll die. They're like, well, we don't want the human cattle to die. We got all these jobs for them to complete. So, but we don't want them waking up. So they program you to drink or smoke or vape or eat junk food so that you never awaken during your time off. Like, this is all very well calculated control system. And that's why they're sort of super attacking people right now, because it's not just me explaining this. There's millions of people like me. And this group is like, hey, everybody's starting to wake up. We're going to have to either put the clamps on them, get rid of them, or they're going to get rid of us. And that's why they're really moving aggressively, because they know it's sort of a situation of us or them at this point.
I agree. Spot on. And we didn't even mention coffee. Like, I've got some coffee drinkers that follow me, and I post some coffee stuff, Jason, and I get not attacked, but I get questioned about, where you're getting the information from. And it's like, well, it's not rocket science. Coffee's there because it's the same sedation, it's the same chemical. And if you look into it the way you have and the way I have, it always goes back to an elite, and the elite is Bill Gates, and they refunded Starbucks. It's like you gain the conscious awareness. It's like, I ain't drinking something Bill Gates is putting in our drink, and he's done it all over the world. It's like he's doing this thing with the jab too. It's like, no thanks. But that Caffeine Blues book's a good one. We can talk about coffee as well, I reckon.
Yeah, if someone wants to just go, say, they'll go to the internet and they can go to YouTube and they can put in, it was ABC's, which is the American News Channel, ABC MRI, that's a magnetic resonance imaging technology where they, put people in with the full body and scan them. So just go to YouTube, put ABC MRI, and put caffeine or coffee. You'll get a clip where news stations were allowed to report the truth. Certainly not anymore. I mean, there's no truth on mainstream media anymore. Yeah. But the lady went in and she didn't have coffee for a long time. So they scanned her brain in the MRI. And, it came out that there's good blood flow everywhere and everything was oxygenating properly. And then she just had 1 8-ounce cup of coffee. Now, some coffees are 30 ounces. This was only 1 8-ounce cup of coffee, maybe 100 milligrams of caffeine. They just laid her back down the MRI. The machine sucked her into it. And, the circular machine gave her the reading. And there was a neurologist there, a medical doctor, and says, oh, that's kind of odd because the blood flow to your brain dropped by 40% after the 1 cup of coffee. Now, and he was eyeballing it. The gentleman, the medical doctor that was there in the news report, he was eyeballing it. He says it's around 40%, but he didn't really measure it. But it was measured and reported in that book called Caffeine Blues as 52%. So life is tough. Everybody knows life is tough. It's a pretty hard planet here to get happy on. It's more hard today than it has been, before 2020. But it's going to be harder with half a brain. So, and that effect is not a misunderstanding of the science. It's not like they had to catch up on the research.
No.
They researched coffee, and the report was, hey, you're going to love this one in your toolkit. The phone call is up the pyramid.
Oh, yeah.
And say, this substance destroy, like alcohol was originally the neurologically numbing agent, the tranquilizing agent, invented by the Egyptians. And it was invented by the Egyptians so the slaves would build their monuments. And that's why they call them, rock and roll concerts, because the way the stones got to the Egyptian monuments, they'd have the logs and they'd quarry the stone, the rock, and then they'd roll them to the monument erection center, right? So this is why they call the rock and roll, like old time rock and roll. Rolling Stone magazine, even Post Malone has a song about rocking and rolling. And people don't understand sort of any of this stuff, that alcohol is a arm of governance, because people that aren't brain damaged and weakened with alcohol won't build monuments. They're not good slaves. They always rebel, slit the throats of the people that are trying to farm them. And they're also stronger because they're not poisoning themselves, right? So a lot of people don't understand about this rock and roll thing. And then, so they understand there's benefits and advantages to sedating the nervous system, causing the brain damage, weakening the slave. It increases the efficiency of the slavery. So this is why, and the people, if you want to, there's a documentary called The Ring of Power. It's a 5-hour documentary that will prove to you that the UK royals are actually old Egyptian pharaohs. So it's not, so this is the tie between all these ruling groups over history, is they're well aware that there's a lot of substances on the earth, and you can kind of trick people to use them, and it makes them a lot easier to rule. It makes them like lambs instead of lions. So enter in the caffeine with the tea. So the thing about infusing slaves with alcohol, they can get a little messy, they can get a little rowdy. It can make them sort of sick the next day. But then they found, in India, they found the caffeinated teas. It was a low milligrammage of caffeine, but the call was made and said, hey, if we give them the caffeine, it seems to have a lot better effect than the alcohol. So they said, okay, let's call it tea time at the 2 o'clock break and infuse them with the tea at the tea time. And then we'll get them having the caffeinated teas in the morning, and we'll get a lot more out of the slave, the slaves, which is just what you call citizens.
Yeah.
So as they were doing their crusades, which was just a bunch of guys stealing stuff and basically killing people for the sake of killing them. There's really no other way to say it. Sort of a death cult. The UK operation is a very old death cult. They get their domination and their power through death, terror, mayhem, and rape. So they would cut through, and then they found the coffee in Arabia, and they're like, hey, whoa. So the phone call's made again. I think we found something with the same compounds as tea, but it seems to be 2 times or 3 times as powerful as tea. It's called coffee. You're going to love it. They only found the coffee in about 1600. And then they shipped it back to the UK, and they're like, this is amazing. It has this massive brain numbing effect on the recipient, but the slavery feels groovy. The slavery feels groovy. And you get 2 or 3 times the production out of it. Then they crash later when they're at home. And the rulers are like, this is amazing. I love this. You want to know how bad coffee is for your health. It will destroy your health on every level. There's no exceptions. You're going to read Caffeine Blues by Cherniske. And the reason it's on every corner, again, Starbucks was going to go bankrupt in 1987. It had less than 50 stores. And here comes Bill Gates and William Gates Sr. Now, you got to ask yourself, what do these guys, or are they interested in coffee shops? Well,
Exactly.
they're not really going to bat for humanity. They're pro-eugenics. They're pro-slavery. They're pro-brain damage. They're pro-tranquilization. They're anti-lion, anti-strength, pro-weakness, and pro-mind control. Caffeine has been shown, if there's mind control that you can do on a healthy person, they don't bite as often. You caffeinate that person and expose them the same repetitive images that says, over here is the bigger herd. Are you going to go? Because that's what the mind control experiments are all about. We're going to manufacture the pressure in your nervous system to go over here to the bigger herd. Caffeine drops morality. It drops ethics. It drops long-term thinking, and it makes someone more prone to go with the herd, even if what the herd is doing is not good.
Does the last 3 years ring any bells?
Yeah. Are you not seeing what's going on in the world where people are like, yeah, I'll get my kid and we're going to go down to the clinic. And I'm like, I don't think that makes any sense. And, it takes in regards to these lies people are pushing under their skin, on average, it would take 12 years for the average vaccine to be brought to market and go through all the clinical trials, 12 years. And in that 12-year period, 96% of all vaccines proposed to be used in the market will get declined. So 12-year period, 96 of vaccines in the trial runs would get declined as too dangerous. This particular technology is basically new, never been used on humans before. And the estimated time that should have been given to testing them is 20 years. And they were out in 10 months. People that are not caffeinated, are not alcoholized, are not poisoned, are not toxic, will look at that and make a decision right away in a different way compared to the person that's under the toxin-based mind control, where the morality is lowered, the ethics are lowered, and there's a fear of not fitting in with the tribe.
Yeah.
And this is how these chemicals are used against us. And we talk about this as self-sabotage coaches openly with our clients and because any toxin is being proven to do. Yeah, we're beating up caffeine, we're beating up alcohol, but in these experiments, Tylenol works, Advil works, Motrin works, your detergent works. Your toxic Tide, your Crest toothpaste because of the fluoride, your Colgate works, your Colgate toothpaste with the fluoride in it. Anything that's a pollutant increases the human propensity to follow group pressure. And that's why everything around you since 1940 is science poison. And they've advertised that science poison is going to save your life. Science poison is not going to save your life. It's going to save their life, because if you ever got clean, you're going to look at these people on TV and the people who say they're your government, and they're not going to last 24 hours because what they've been doing to you and your children in this society for as long as you've been alive on this planet is not good. And the more polluted you are, and it doesn't matter if you put the aluminum-based deodorant, armpit, you got your Old Spice, your Axe body spray, your Calvin Klein perfume, your Vidal Sassoon gel, poison, 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 poison. Your Teflon pan, your microwave food. Even if you go to Starbucks, they coat the inside of the coffee cups, the takeout coffee cups, with something called bisphenol A, which is another poison that has particular effects on your endocrine and hormonal system that makes you weak. Basically, the more poisoned you are, the weaker you are. And the weaker you are, the more inclined you are to bend to group pressure. It's that simple. Poison, weakness, compliance. That's it. They want to poison anything. It doesn't matter what poison they use. They try and pump as much poison into you as possible without you understanding. And the more poison that you get into you, the less you can see it, because you got brain damage, because that's what poisons do. They damage the brain and, weaken you intellectually. So self-sabotage coaches are experts in what weakens you, and we're experts in what strengthens you as well. And that's our job, is to get you to the point where you can reprogram, and we will make sure you have the strength to say no to things that hurt you, hurt your kids, and hurt your family, and hurt your community. Yeah.
Well said. Well, so that's just, it's spot on, mate. Just in terms of what you said before, like, I couldn't have put that any better. And just for anyone out there that's stuck and struggling, and they are stuck in the self-sabotaging habit, what would be your advice to those people to start their journey? I've always said reach out and ask for help. That's probably another program of, even like people your age seem to have that program of not asking for help. What would be your first step for those people that are sort of like watching this and going, Jesus, the world out there is, I'm getting attacked on all these angles. What would be your advice to those people to start their process?
I think they shouldn't beat themselves up. I think they should be happy they can find someone like you to explain these things to them. And everybody self-sabotages, because this subconscious part of the brain, it's standard equipment on all the humans, and it's there loving us to safety. So the great thing about our biology is that we're safety seekers. And if we weren't safety seekers, we wouldn't even be alive to have this conversation. We'd walk into the bee's nest. You're like, oh, the alligator pit's over there. And we just, alligator would tear us to bits, right? So we're always trying to seek safety. So if you were to just be brave enough, if anybody's out there, to be brave enough and say, okay, I've done some illogical things in my life. I've worked against my genetic self-preservation mechanism. I've poisoned myself with drugs. I've done cocaine. I carry a cancer. Your cell phone is a cancer-causing device. I put it in my back pocket, or I put it in my front pocket. That's against your genetic survival mechanism. Maybe you're drinking. Maybe you went to a clinic with your kids, and now you know why you did it. And it's not because you're dumb. It's because the people who rule you know how to manufacture the bigger herd as an imaginary concept through their media. And don't forget, the first two phonetic sounds in media is me, die, okay? And there's lots to be said about media and where the word came from. It was an old country in the Middle East that taught this skill to kings and queens of the Mediterranean, of how to manipulate people with perceived group pressure. So you've been group pressured into a lot of things. Some of the big things are thinking poison will make you healthy. That's a big one. There's no logical or rational explanation for it. You would only be responding to herd pressure. And if you did do it, if you do think poison will somehow make you or your kids healthy, don't worry about it, because it means you're working as designed. But the people who rule you don't tell you your design, which kind of makes you unable to defend yourself. If you believe a job that you don't like isn't going to hurt your health for 30 years, that's another illogical thing or a process or ritual that they programmed into you. Like they teach you how to make resumes, right? But they don't teach you how to make business plans. So wine, they've told you wine is healthy or alcohol is healthy in moderation. That's a lie. That's a lie. If you go to the science, every ounce of alcohol that you take in has been proven to, I believe, end your life 7 to 10 minutes earlier. And it's not healthy in moderation. Like every bit of alcohol that you drink will end your life earlier, no matter what it was. So there's lots of illogical things going on with a lot of people. They're working jobs they don't like. They're ingesting or injecting poison, expecting to get healthy. They're afraid of being in shape. they're eating food on a Friday night that I think you call it takeaway where you are, or maybe takeout. Takeaway. I mean, food not fit for a maggot to consume. And this is the highlight of their week. Right. And they call it week for a reason.
Yep.
Some more word magic and weekend. Again. So that, like, 5 days of working a job they don't like, probably having a toxic coffee so they don't feel it because it numbs the brain. And then on a Friday night, they get to have more poison. And they're thinking this is a great life. It's not a great life for the person living there. It's a great life for the people who rule us, because that person will never figure out that they've been programmed to trim their own tall poppy, dull their shine, act small, and poison themselves so that their potential never rises to the surface. Because humans are the only farmed animals on this planet that can jump the fence and destroy the farmers that are domesticating. That we're the only farmed animal that can just say, hey, that's a fence, and oh, there's the farmer, I'm going to give it to him.
Yeah.
And they know that, like, humans are very dangerous because they can get violent and they're very intelligent. That's the force you do not want rising up. This is why on the weekends, order the junk food, have the wine, it's healthy. Science says it's healthy. They're lying to you. Coffee's not healthy. Vaping's not healthy. In Canada, marijuana is being legalized coast to coast in Canada. That's a lie. It destroys brain function. Of course, like, are you really thinking the government's going to do something healthy for you? And if you think they are, that's okay. It just means you're under really deep mind control. It would mean you're under some of the deepest forms of mind control. If you think clinical psychopaths that steal your money under the threat of violence are going to do something healthy for you, you're under the very deepest forms of mind control.
Well said. Tax is theft too, for those out there.
Yeah, and they take your money, and and it's not to build the roads.
No, it's not.
It's not to build the roads. It's to build it's to build more of what benefits them. I mean, even in Canada 5 years ago, some of that stolen money, Justin Trudeau at the time declared that, hey, we got new healthy alcohol guidelines. The provincial governments in Canada built these Taj Mahal liquor stores. And the government came out, hey, we got the new science. And of course, that's just a religious term, which means obey. And they said, look, healthy drinking guidelines for men is 12 to 15 drinks a week. 10 drinks per week for women is healthy. Now, I don't drink any alcohol and haven't had a full glass of alcohol. And I probably had one full glass of alcohol in the last 18 years. So if you think I'll be healthier, now I'm 53 years old, I do not dye my hair, I don't dye my beard. And if you think I would be healthier having 15 drinks a week of alcohol, you're under, it's not a problem, but you would be under some very serious mind control, which would simply be based on repetition. Like 85% of mind control is repetition. So you'd have been taught, like, it would have been everywhere, it's normalized. Someone graduates, you got to go get drunk. And they want you to graduate and go get drunk so that you don't graduate and have a celebration or a victory ever again. And, the baseball teams are famous for this. The basketball teams are famous. They travel around, get drunk for the whole summer before the league starts again. And they're completely wrecked, right? Where if I was a team owner, I'd be like, tone it down. I'd like to win next year, like, take care of your bodies.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to send everybody to the spa, bring your wives, bring your kids. We're going to massage people, organic food, clean water. We're going to stretch you. We're going to get the best trainers in, do some sound bowl healing, and get you to bed on time. Let's go try and win it again next year. They've programmed people to destroy themselves. And that's our expertise as coaches, is to gently feed people the truth. And the videos we show clients in our sessions, which are being hand spun and hand edited by me, will leave literally, if a human sees the videos I've made that my coaches use before the coach even sees them, the client is almost healed completely by the videos. They're like, I can't believe I just saw that.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is a thing. And I'm like, it is a thing.
Yeah.
And I prove that they're doing this through your movies, through your TV shows, through your songs on the radio. Everything is handcrafted to give you repetitive content. So you act it out outside your conscious awareness, and you're going to walk right off a cliff. You're going to be depressed, overweight, broke. And they would have programmed it all into you. They drive by in their Rolls Royce and they're like, hey, Frank, you look like Pigpen from Charlie Brown. You got this cloud of dirt all around you. I'm really sorry you're having that bad luck. They did that. They manufactured that. And they're like, gee, I don't really know how that happened. That's a real shame. Here's £5 or 5 sterling or $5. Have a good day. They manufactured it all. And that's why I say the artists in the music industry today, they don't write their own songs. They're specially crafted artisans that know about word magic and how to program the masses through words. It's very easy to program people through words. Study some NLP, and they choose that's neuro-linguistic programming, if you want to know what NLP stands for. And you can have someone really good in this, give an artist the song, and they will mind control the audience in a very particular but negative way. The people who are orchestrating all this can only stay in power by destroying your power.
Correct.
That's the only way they stay in control.
Yeah, and you said it before too. It's like if they came in here with guns and tanks and stuff, we'd all arc up and we'd all see it. They're actually tricking us to poison ourselves. That's what they're doing.
Absolutely. And that's called 5th generation warfare. There's actually a title for it. There's actually books written on it. There's reports for the government that the 5th generation warfare is when you want to go to war with people. It's the best way to do it. You have to trick them to destroy themselves, because the old war model, same group, by the way, so don't ever think it's not the same group. So the same group working this line of manipulation a long time, but they used to use the old warfare model, planes and bombs and tanks and infantry and barbed wire and missiles. And then they would conquer where they would want to conquer. And they look at each other in the boardroom and saying, it's a pretty big mess out there. There's a lot of the stuff we wanted. I really wanted that millionaire's house. It's destroyed. I loved his car collection. That's gone. I heard he had a vault of gold. We blew that up. And so the old traditional warfare model, they would agree, is not the best, because it was always about theft. War is about theft always. So the 5th generation warfare, you can go look it up on Google. It's a method of warfare where you target a particular population, and you have to use propaganda, mind control, behavior modification, brainwashing to make them destroy themselves, so that when you come in and pirate their assets, all the assets are still tangible and you can steal them. So, and you have to make them so weak, mentally, spiritually, physically, economically, they can't resist. You take their guns away, you make them fat, you make them out of shape, and you make them broke through taxation or inflation and many other ways to do it. And we're in that now. The fentanyl, the marijuana. In British Columbia, Canada, they just legalized all hard drugs. And I don't mean some, I mean all, like fentanyl, I think it's called carfentanil. Like, these are things that could kill an elephant. Cocaine, heroin, that's nothing. There's all these other drugs. So if you have 2 to 3 days on you, the police can't charge you 2 to 3 days of the supply of the drug. And that's 5th generation warfare. So they're killing they're killing the seniors in a particular way. If you want to know how they're killing the seniors, you'd want to go on Odyssey video channel and find A Good Death by David Icke or the Iconic Studios. So there's different targets in fifth generation warfare. They're getting the elderly one way. They're getting the drug people the other way. They're getting the kids another way by convincing them to cut off their genitalia or their reproductive organs. So everybody's got the fifth generation target on their back. And I'll send you some videos that actually documents the government policies that are written and signed by different members that we call the government, actually legalizing the fifth generation warfare on us. Wow. That we are the target. So we'll put those in the show notes.
Yeah, we will.
I got 4 videos that you can watch so that you know if you're watching this, you actually, if you're in Australia, if you're in Canada, United States, or the EU, there was a Department of Defense head in the United States that called all the 4 areas I just mentioned the kill box. Now, the kill box, the kill box phrase is a military phrase, which means if you're a soldier, I'll tell you, look, Nathan, this is the kill box. This 6-block radius is the kill box. You don't have to phone me to shoot anybody. Shoot on sight, you kill anybody, there's no legal repercussions. But if you're outside the zone, you have to phone me for permission for a righteous kill. So there's government officials in the United States that have called their own country a kill box, where government officials have been giving other government officials the permission to kill at will. And to kill at will with the medical system, with science, derailing trains, burning down food production factories, controlling the weather. We're in the fifth generation warfare model. And what you said is correct. Because of the repetitive content that was put into us with movies like Red Dawn, when I watched, Red Dawn's been made twice. The first one when I was a kid, it was with Patrick Swayze and some other stars of my generation. So of course, when we grow up, we're always waiting for the tanks and, the Russians to parachute in. Or the most recent Red Dawn movie, I think it was the North Koreans that came in. But that's when the humans get their backup. So, there's a lot of people in the EU, Australia, they're on their porches, in Canada and United States, they're rocking chairs and they've loaded their guns and they're waiting for the invasion. The invasion happened 40 years ago with Wendy's, Starbucks, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Costco, Walmart, all the pharmacies, all the injection drives, all the schooling that made this seem like it was perfectly legitimate, logical, and rational, all the mind control, all the killing on TV that desensitized people to killing. People have been in the kill box for a long time, and they don't realize that when you go to the liquor store, you go to Starbucks, you go to the weed shop in Canada, you go and get some takeout or some takeaway, you're doing that's fifth generation warfare, which is they've tricked you to kill yourself.
Yep.
That's it. It's very simple. They're tricking you to destroy yourself and sit there and not do anything about it and be so programmed. If you want to know how strong mind control is, if you drink coffee, try and quit it.
Yeah.
If you want to know how powerful mind control is, you drink wine, try to quit. See how long you can hang on for, because the most repetitive content wins, because you're so terrified to be alone in a smaller group that you'll participate in your own demise rather than save yourself, unless you can take your proper rite of passage from child to adult, which is what we teach as self-sabotage coaches.
Spot on. But there's one more program. A lot of people in the truth community are waiting for that savior, Jason, aren't they? There's no savior coming. We are the savior.
Absolutely.
There's that one too. That savior programming is a deep one too. I just thought we could touch on that one. That's another deep one, especially in the truth community. A lot of people are waiting for the white hats or the Q or whatever the fuck it is to come and save us. We aren't being saved, people. We save ourselves. And the savior's our heart. That's what I believe. What do you reckon?
trust the plan with Q, right? Right.
Yeah.
And of course, Q is like the cue ball. It's the first ball, cue ball. And so Q is trust the plan. And so if you're knowledgeable about mind control and psychological manipulation and social engineering like I am, I'm like, oh, that smells like something I've read about before. So if you go back to the Bolshevik Revolution, they had something called Operation Trust. And I know the families are the same. So I'm like, oh, these families that rule us in this way and farm us in this way, they're not creative. So it's not hard to find their fingerprints and all the disasters that's been going on. So Operation Trust was like inside the Russian government, which is not the Russian government. The UK royals took over Russia in about 1913. If you want to go and see some historical recounting of how the UK royals took over Russia, you want to go to a censored video station and look up Eustace Mullins is a historian. Eustace is E.
Oh, we back? I think we've just lost connection. Oh, hopefully Jason comes back here.
This group and
you just cut out for a second there. People missed the Eustace Mullins spelling.
Sorry about that.
Eustace
Mullins.
Okay,
Eustace Mullins. It's EUSTACE.
Yep.
Mullins is with 2 L's. And he will tell you that the UK royals infiltrated the Russian government, which was just another ruling family, but they just, kicked them out and took over their.
Oh, also we're talking too much truth here. This is what happens when you speak a little bit too much truth. Yeah. Hopefully we connect back up. Hopefully. Hopefully we just rejig it. Yep. You're back.
What happened there?
Oh, I think you were talking too much truth, mate. This is what happens on some of these platforms, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, anyway, so you're going to splice this together?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So
we're still recording.
Yeah. So the Bolshevik Revolution, they had this Operation Trust, which is like trust the plan. So it smells exactly the same. And basically it was a propaganda piece inside the government that said, don't worry about anything. You're seeing a lot of trouble out on your streets in the Soviet Union. And we got it under control inside. There's some insiders fighting for you. And you just sit on the couch.
Yep. Oh, no. Gone again.
It's called savior programming. It also called, what's the other program it's called for? But it is savior programming. It's meant to give you a false hope that you're going to sit down and someone else is going to take care of it. And if you pre-program a society like they pre-programmed us to be pleasure seekers and sort of inherently lazy, the trust programs and these savior programs are that we bite hard on them. Because we don't want to get off our couch even to change the channel, let alone go stand around a government building and tell people they no longer have a job, which is what eventually will have to happen if people want to actually live on this planet, is that we have to get around the government buildings and say, I'm really sorry, but you're fired and you're just going to have to go home. No violence intended.
That's the power we have too. And a lot of people... That's the power we have. There's actually more of us than there is of them, and they know that, and that's why they're tricking us.
But they have quite a bit head start,
That's
because,
true.
nothing confuses someone more than going to 18 years of government school where you've been repetitively programmed that the government's your friend, and then the government attacks you. Nothing will freeze a person more in contradictory sort of brain waves than that. Because if you have contradictory brain waves, it's actually proven to shut down brain function.
It's so true. And it's all this wouldn't have started if it wasn't for the school system. They brought this school system into that. I reckon that's the root. And Paul Linders speaks about it too. It's all he believes the school system is the root cause of cancer, but the school system is the root cause of all of this. That's why all these people are in power.
Yeah, and at some time, there's always going to be someone leading the tribe, but what we see today is there's so many immoral people and there's so many unethical people because the school system is designed. And if you want to see the design of the school system written down very well, go read John Taylor Gatto's book, The Weapons of Mass Instruction. He's the most popular American school teacher of all time. And the people who organize the school system don't even hide it, that it's there to destroy the intelligence in the children and insert an obedience function. And that's all. So what we see today is we see all these graduates. That's why we're in such dangerous water, is that from the mayor of Chicago to Donald Trump to Chris Whitty in the UK to Justin Trudeau, they've had all this conditioning through the school system, which just breeds dependence, number one, where the person has no life skills other than being an obedient, compliant person. They don't have any skills. So there's no skills of survival taught. So you become automatically dependent. And then the school system sharpens your obedience skills. And so, like it doesn't matter if it's the police director, police chief in my hometown of Cornwall, Ontario, or the health officer in Cornwall, they just do what they're told, absent of moral or ethical review. And that's why there's no debate in school anymore. It's just regurgitation. There's no ethics. There used to be ethics classes. There used to be morality lessons in some of the Catholic schools, even though they've been sort of dirtied and muddied along the way as well, purposely, so no one trusts religious morality anymore. So everything that makes people good people has been removed from the government school system purposely. And we have all these graduates, I call them sleeper cells, because they will do anything they're told. A lot of my friends are teachers, and they're being told to teach kids that all this sexual confusion agenda.
Here we go.
and they're doing it because they've never left the system. Like a lot of my friends, we went to high school, we all went to university, and then they went to teachers college, and then they got a job as a teacher, and they never left the system of obedience. They never grew up. They're always like, who's going to put the tit in the mouth? Where am I getting the milk? And if you lean on them and say, today we're going to have a class or a program or a lesson on sex reassignment surgery, cut your own penis off, my friends will do it. They won't walk out.
Same here.
Because they won't question anything, and then they'll manufacture like a secondary and tertiary personality to justify this, because they're super dependent, because that's the system. It's not that they were born immoral. They're actually born moral. It takes a lot of time to get the morality out of a human being. So I hope this isn't going on YouTube, right? Because
won't be.
Yeah, it'll get fired. You'll get fired right off the planet. You'll be banned on YouTube on Mars if this goes on. Okay, so that can't go on. But this is really what's going on. And the censorship is about getting the reps down and not letting people think about what's really going on, and not reminding teachers and and other government workers that, hey, you're not being moral, and you're not really being moral just with others. You're not being moral or ethical with yourself. Like if you don't like your job, I've never met a government worker who likes their job. And then so they're going to push a lie under their skin. They could die. And they knew that going in. They could say they didn't know, but everybody knew this was a farce from the get-go. So they're pushing poison under their skin. They're sacrificing their kids to go back and work a job they never liked anyway, because they were so in debt buying stuff to decorate their empty life that they don't, they're one check away from being bankrupt, because they're so miserable that they got to collect stuff to distract themselves. And it's just the ugliest cycle. And we want to tell people like this too. Hey, look, I don't know if you're going to be okay, but I'll do everything I can to detox it from your system. So we'll put a nice shot detox in the show notes as well.
Yep.
So that people can understand we're not out to get anybody. Like, I'm sorry it happened. I don't know if you're going to be okay, but I'm going to try my hardest to make sure you and your kids are fine.
Same.
Yeah.
I love that. That's an awesome chat, mate. We'll probably finish it there, I reckon, before we get cut off. Definitely put it on YouTube.
Yeah. Don't do that to yourself. You'll be banned. So where else do you go? Rumble or?
Yeah, I've got Rumble, Spotify, some mainstream ones there, but this probably go on Rumble and see if we can get on audio on Spotify and that. The Here for the Truth guys have all that stuff on Spotify, so I should be right on there.
Yeah, you should be fine.
Yeah, won't go on YouTube though. But yeah, so Jason, actually before I ask that question, I'll ask one more question. Where can people find you first? Where can people find you for those?
Well, it's best to get on my email. Yep. Because social media is very up and down with truth tellers. So
I think you're banned, aren't you?
I'm banned right now, but I'm on Facebook timeout, and probably on my last Facebook timeout. But just email me personally at jason@freedomfromselfsabotage.com. And I'll put you on my email list, and I'll give you free information, free detox. I let out some of my talks for free. A lot of times my paid talks. I just let out one of my most popular paid talks last week to my email list so they'd get educated in case they didn't want to buy it. I'm just trying to help people. And this month too, we're letting out my paid mail talk for free called The Attack on Men and How Men Can Find Their Way Again, so that people can understand it is a programmed attack. It's the same group, and they like disempowering men because without men, they can get right to the women, and they don't even want the women. They want behind the women, which is the children. So just email me at jason@freedomfromselfsabotage.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, but I can't say too much, but I do say everything that needs to be said on my email list, and it would be good to just get on that.
Yeah, sweet. Thank you for jumping on, mate. We got cut off there a couple of times, obviously talking too much truth for Zoom to handle, but we got there, and I thank you for jumping on, and looking forward to having you jump on again soon. Just one last quick one. How do you see all this playing out this year? What's looking to a crystal ball for us, mate? How do you see this playing out? Do you see humanity standing and rising up before we finish?
I don't have any answers. I don't know where it's going to go, but what I do know is that whatever's coming, having strength will help you deal with it.
Yeah.
So that's what I teach. I teach the physical strength, the intellectual. I teach the spiritual, and I teach the financial. I call those the 4 pillars of strength. So whatever comes, I like if Nibiru, the planet X, comes across the horizon and rips this planet apart, or it doesn't really matter if they keep attacking or humanity rises up and there's a bit of social disturbance before they surround the government buildings and tell everybody they're fired and they're not allowed to go back in and take the reins of power. Whatever's coming, it would just be better if you're healthy. Start with your health. So if you want the Bible of health, it's called Paul Chek, Chek, his book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, because the physical health is the foundation of the other 3 pillars. If you don't have physical health, you really can't have intellectual, financial, or spiritual because you're so weak. So get your, stop using your face as a garbage compactor and a battering ram, and stop putting, there's a hole in your face called a mouth. Stop putting poison in it. And if you try and you find it tough, I'd understand, contact a self-sabotage coach like Nathan, and he can help you reprogram, so that he'll help you trick your brain to make you think the healthier tribe is the bigger tribe, and your subconscious will just push you there naturally.
That's it. Well said. Thank you for jumping on, mate. We'll end that one right there. And yeah, jump on Jason's email list, and you'll see a lot of our self-sabotage stuff on there, and you'll see a lot of truth. And there's a lot of documentaries out there as well that Jason shares. So please jump on there if you haven't already. And thank you again, Jason. And I'll hit stop. So thank you, guys. We'll see you next time on the Breaking Free podcast.